My mother-in-law thought I had an incurable terminal illness and advised my husband not to treat it, but to find a new wife. I immediately agreed, offering to introduce him to a wealthy heiress. She was overjoyed, holding my hand and praising my understanding. A few days later, I brought home a woman over 50, and turning to my father-in-law, chuckled. "Dad, this is the new wife I'm introducing to you." My mother-in-law froze, her eyes wide, mouth agape. Stepping through the door after an exhausting day at work, I heard my mother-in-law's voice from the kitchen, cutting through the air like a knife. "That illness of Sarah's? Don't bother treating it. Save the money and marry a young, beautiful woman instead." Brenda spoke softly, but her naturally loud voice carried every word, piercing straight into my ears. My husband, Michael, snapped angrily. "Mom, what are you talking about?" Brenda didn't flinch, her voice growing louder, sharper. "I'm just thinking of you, son. What's the point of throwing money into a hospital? You've endured her for years. If she dies, you can marry someone else. A change of pace for once. Little Leo is still young. A stepmother can raise him for a few years, and he'll forget his birth mother. But remember, don't ever take him to visit his birth mother's grave later on. If his stepmom isn't happy, you'll suffer." Michael clenched his fists, his voice trembling with anger. "Mom, don't talk nonsense. Sarah isn't sick." Brenda pouted, scoffing. "Still trying to hide it from me? I heard it clear as day last night. She said she had that illness, and if it wasn't treated quickly, even a miracle couldn't help. Isn't that a terminal illness? You even said you'd sell the house to save her, you fool. Even if she's saved, she'll just be an invalid, unable to work, unable to earn money. You'll have to wait on her day and night, prolonging it for a few more years until she dies anyway. By then, all your money will be gone, the house sold, and you'll be exhausted and sick yourself. Who would want to marry you then? You'd have a young child to raise and an old father to care for. Your whole life would be over." Michael's voice suddenly flared like fire. "Can't you just wish us peace, Mom? What has Sarah ever done wrong to you that you curse her like this?" Brenda shrieked back, trying to drown out her son's voice. "What good has she ever done for me? Has she bought me a house? Bought me a car? Look at Mrs. Rodriguez downstairs. Her daughter-in-law bought her apartment. I'm a mother-in-law too. Why is my life so much harder?" I stood silently outside the kitchen door, every word from my mother-in-law stinging my chest like needles. So, she hated me just because I hadn't bought her a house or a car. Her voice continued, steady, laced with contempt. "When you married her," I protested. "She's an only child, no siblings to rely on. The money she earns is meager. This apartment needed both of you to chip in, but luckily when she dies, this apartment will be all yours. Then you'll have a house, a car, and women will be lining up for you. Take your time, choose someone from a good family, and your father and I will benefit." Hearing this, I gripped the doorframe, my heart squeezed. Was she really wishing for my death? Michael's voice rang out, furious. "Mom, do you even know what you're saying? Our family isn't so grand that you can criticize Sarah like this." Brenda huffed, her voice dismissive. "What about our family? You're a college graduate. Marrying her was a step up for times her asterisk." Michael shouted back, his voice trembling with indignation. "Sarah is also a college graduate. Asterisk I times was the one who married up to her." She let out a bitter, cutting laugh. "Oh, please, what's the point of women being educated? Women who aren't educated know how to be a good wife and daughter-in-law. Only my son's education is valuable." Michael choked, his voice dropping in resignation. "College graduates are a dime a dozen these days, Mom. Only you still see me as a treasure. Stop talking, or Sarah will hear and kick you out." She remained stubborn, her voice hard as iron. "She wouldn't dare. I'm your mother. I live in your house, so what? Listen to me, hold on to your money, and don't sell the house, understood?" I held my breath. Through the crack in the door, I saw her on a video call with my husband. A chill ran down my spine. Then I smiled. I pushed the door open, clapped my hands once, my voice calm yet sharp as a blade. "You're absolutely right, Mom. Michael, you definitely need to think of yourself, and even more so for our son. Hold on to your money and this house very tightly." Brenda froze, her phone screen going black. She fumbled to hang up, her face pale, lips trembling. I just stood there, looking straight into her eyes, with a faint smile. Hearing my words, my mother-in-law's expression changed instantly. Tears that hadn't yet dried, the corners of her lips curved upwards, her voice sweet as honey. "Sarah, I knew it. I wasn't wrong about you. You truly are an understanding and sensible daughter-in-law. I can't bear to lose you. It's just a shame our time together as mother and daughter is so short. Tell me, how can someone so healthy suddenly get such a strange illness?" Sob. Asterisk. She spoke, wiping away tears with her sleeve, but they looked exactly like an actress's tears. I stood there, silent, my gaze cold as ice, staring at the play unfolding before me. In our 5 years of marriage, my mother-in-law and I weren't particularly close, but we'd never had major conflicts. I felt I had never treated her poorly. When she was still in her hometown, if I heard she had a cold, I'd always text to ask and send money for her to see a doctor. When she and my father-in-law moved to the city, I took meticulous care of the meals, medicine, nothing was ever lacking. Yet today, she was secretly plotting for my husband to marry another woman. A bitter smile flickered across my lips. Michael and I were colleagues. When I first started, he was the first to help me, guiding me every step of the way. He was kind, quiet, always gentle. Thanks to some colleagues playing matchmaker, I opened my heart and fell in love with him. His family in the countryside was poor, the classic rags to riches story. But unlike many, he wasn't insecure or arrogant. He was simply genuine, making people feel at ease. My parents also liked him. My dad just said one thing: wealth isn't necessary, just a man who's willing to work hard. Still, Dad warned me, your mother and I won't buy you a house. You two contribute together, pay the mortgage together. That way, you'll appreciate it more. My mom smiled gently. Your dad means he's afraid your husband might feel insecure or dependent if we buy the house outright. If he contributes to the mortgage, he'll have the motivation to strive. I understood. My parents only wanted the best for me. Partly to preserve family assets, partly to test the man I chose. I didn't tell Michael the details, only saying gently, "If you want to marry me, could we each contribute half for the down payment?" He hesitated, then sighed softly. A man should be able to provide a home, but right now, I can't afford it. I can handle half the down payment. Sarah, I'm sorry to put you at a disadvantage. At that moment, I smiled. I never imagined that the man who apologized for not having enough money for a house now had a mother who was wishing for my death so he could marry a new wife. After months of scrimping and saving, we finally bought our first home. The cost of renovations and furniture, every single item, was split evenly, a fair arrangement. For my family, that amount was negligible. But for Michael's family, it was a huge burden. His parents had to borrow money everywhere, pooling every penny. After the wedding, we were paying off both the house and the car. Then Leo was born, and expenses skyrocketed. Fortunately, my parents occasionally helped us secretly with some money, so life was somewhat stable. As for the debt on his side, I didn't dare interfere, leaving his parents to manage it themselves. Perhaps that's why my mother-in-law started to criticize me. Before, she hid it, but recently it had become increasingly obvious. Last year, my son turned 2. My dad saw that Michael was truly a good and hard-working man, so he decided to help us pay off the house loan. The burden was significantly lightened. I thought life would be easier from then on, but unexpected undercurrents began to stir. My father-in-law, Robert, slipped and fell in a field one day, injuring his back and unable to do heavy labor anymore. Michael immediately rushed around, finding him a job in a warehouse that paid well but was less strenuous. So, Robert moved to the city to live with us. My son started preschool. My mother-in-law said sweetly, "Let me pick up and drop off the little one, Sarah. You focus on work." From then on, the 5 of us squeezed into an apartment under 900 SQFT. Mornings were a clamor of voices, cars, and the kettle whistling, suffocating and overwhelming. Honestly, there weren't any major conflicts. My in-laws were still diligent, Robert would even collect recyclables around the apartment complex after work to sell for pocket money. Brenda stayed home, doing chores, cleaning, cooking, and then rushing to pick up our grandson. At first, I was grateful to her, but the longer I lived with her, the more I realized her mouth never rested. She was constantly whispering about this family, and that, despising the poor, envying the well-off. Occasionally, she'd sit and recount how some daughter-in-law was good, how her husband was successful, how easy their life was, then turn to criticize her own husband. He'll never amount to anything, never earn a big house. One day, Michael was so annoyed he couldn't take it anymore and retorted, "Mom, you're always so envious of others, but why don't you look at yourself? There are plenty of successful men out there. None of them would even look at you." Brenda's eyes widened, and she burst into tears. Am I ugly, or am I stupid? Why don't I have the right to marry someone good? I've suffered my whole life, married a useless husband, and now my own son despises me. Why is my life so miserable? She cried, beating her chest, tears and snot streaming down her face. Michael stood motionless, his face pale. I could only watch, a heavy feeling weighing on my heart. A family that seemed peaceful was, in fact, rotting from the inside. My father-in-law stood up silently and left. He didn't try to comfort her, because the more he did, the more she'd unleash her anger on him. Michael didn't comfort her either. He usually just shouted back, adding fuel to the fire. Only I stood in the middle, trying to mend things with a few conciliatory words. Then, gradually, my mother-in-law started confiding in me. She always cooked to suit Michael's taste first, then mine. With everyone else in the house, she was relaxed, but with me, she was carefully solicitous. Whenever Michael and I argued, she would side with me, scolding him, "You're the man, give your wife a little leeway. Why do you always have to win?" My parents had praised my in-laws as kind and even advised me to be filial. I believed them and treated them well. Yet, behind those caring gestures was a silent conspiracy. The whispers behind my back about saving money for my son to marry another wife sent chills down my spine. Who could bear it when a mother-in-law was kind to your face, but secretly wished for your demise to facilitate her son's remarriage? It turned out her kindness was based purely on my utility. When she thought I had a terminal illness, that value disappeared, and she immediately condemned me. I didn't expose her directly. I spoke in veiled terms. People live one life. No matter how much money they have, they can't take any of it with them. Life and death are not ours to decide. Life and death are ordained by heaven, wealth and status by fate. For an ordinary family like ours, a minor illness can be treated, but a serious one, it's best not to burden those left behind. Passing peacefully is a true act of love for those who remain. Brenda nodded profusely, conviction clear on her face. You're right, my daughter-in-law is so understanding. Michael even tried to stop me from talking to you. I'm just thinking of Leo, you know? You have a terminal illness. You can't be with Leo forever. Saving money for Michael to marry a new wife and take better care of the boy is much better. I let out a cold, teasing laugh. You're so thoughtful, Mom. I should also show my sincerity. Coincidentally, I know a very rich woman. Her family is extremely well-off mansions, luxury cars, hundreds of thousands in savings. The words hundreds of thousands made Brenda's face light up. For her, that number was heaven. If I had said millions, she probably would have jumped out of her seat. She grinned widely. You've already picked someone out? I guess you quickly thought of a new partner for Michael after learning your diagnosis. Oh dear, you truly are the best daughter-in-law. I cut her off, feigning shyness. But she's a bit older. She waved her hand, unconcerned. That's fine. Older women are more compassionate. She'll be good to Michael, love Leo, and be filial to her mother-in-law. I believe it. Then she began to strategize, her eyes eager. And if she's older, she'll probably pass before Michael. Then, wouldn't her assets go to Leo? You're thinking of Leo. I understand your good intentions. I just shook my head, half smiling. I just worry Michael won't agree. She patted her chest, resolutely declaring, Leave it to me. I'll convince him. Just then, the sound of a car outside Michael was home. I turned to go to the bedroom, keeping up appearances. He followed, muttering apologies for his mother. "Sarah, please don't mind what Mom said." I cut him off sharply. "Don't apologize so quickly. Go talk to your mother. She has something she wants to convince you about." Michael walked into the kitchen. Not long after, their voices erupted in an argument like thunder. Brenda tried everything to persuade him. "Meet this rich woman. Do it for Leo," Michael roared. "Mom, you're both stupid and malicious. Are you serious or being sarcastic?" Brenda cursed back, tears and anger intertwined. "You ungrateful brat. How dare you yell at your mother?" "I'm doing this for you, for Leo," Michael shouted. "You think this is for me? You just want to tear this family apart. How can there be a mother like you in this world?" The argument dragged on. The kitchen suddenly became a battlefield, and I stood silently at the threshold, listening to every conflict tear my family apart, piece by piece. The mother and son were angry with each other for days. Meals were tense. I thought that was the end of it. But to my surprise, Brenda secretly pulled me aside in the kitchen one day, lowering her voice as if afraid someone might overhear. "Sarah, that rich woman you mentioned the other day, when are you bringing her home for me to meet?" I raised an eyebrow slightly, suppressing a smile. "Michael agreed?" She tossed her head, her voice full of authority. "He doesn't have to agree. I've decided this. He will." I nodded, my voice unconcerned. "All right then. Tomorrow's the weekend. I'll bring the rich woman over. Remember to tell Dad to come home early to meet her too, okay?" She beamed, imagining she was about to arrange a grand affair. "Of course. As long as your father and I approve, Michael's disapproval won't matter." I turned away, the corner of my mouth curving upwards, with only one thought in my mind. "All right, let's see how you handle tomorrow." The next morning, I dropped Leo off at my parents' house, then drove to pick up the rich woman I'd mentioned. It was Miss Eleanor Davis, over 50, with an elegant demeanor and a sharp smile, exuding the air of a queen as she entered the house. The moment my mother-in-law saw Eleanor step in, her face immediately lit up. She gripped my hand, whispering excitedly, "Sarah, is this the rich woman's mother?" "Oh my goodness, my dear-in-law, are you here to see the house first? Please, come in and sit." She spoke, pulling Eleanor by the arm, but Eleanor immediately pulled her hand away, her voice cold and clear. "In-law? What in-law? I'm not even married yet. Who are you insulting?" My mother-in-law froze, staring at me blankly. "Sarah, who exactly is she?" I offered a gentle smile. "This is Miss Davis. She's incredibly successful. She owns a real estate company. Many of the buildings in this city were built by her." Hearing the words real estate, Brenda's eyes shone like headlights, but then she scrunched up her face and pulled me into a corner, whispering, "Her family might be rich, but she's too old." "She looks the same age as me," I replied, my voice sweet but laced with sarcasm. "Only 2 years younger than you, Mom. A perfect match for Dad." Her eyes widened in disbelief. "You? What did you say?" Just then, lively laughter echoed from the living room. My father-in-law, Robert, and Eleanor were chatting like old friends, his voice unusually cheerful. It had been so long since I'd seen him smile so freely. I stepped out, stood in the middle of the living room, and spoke each word clearly. "Dad, this is Miss Davis, the person I found for you to be your new life partner. What do you think?" My father-in-law paused, bewildered, not yet able to react. My mother-in-law stood frozen in the middle of the room, her face ashen, lips trembling, unable to utter a single word. The air in the house suddenly fell silent for a few seconds. Then we only heard the clang of a spoon falling onto the table, sharp as a clap of thunder on a clear day. She remained frozen for a few seconds, then suddenly lunged forward, swinging her arm to slap Eleanor. "You vixen! How dare you come to my house to seduce my husband?" I immediately pulled Eleanor behind me, my voice cold as ice. "Didn't you tell me to bring her home, Mom? This is Miss Davis, the wealthy woman you liked. What else are you complaining about?" My mother-in-law shrieked, her face crimson. "I told you to find someone for Michael, not to find a woman for that old man. You're an ungrateful daughter-in-law. Do you have any respect for me?" I laughed, a sharp, knife-like sound. "Dad has been with you for decades. It's time for him to have a change of pace. Your son is grown now. It doesn't matter if he has a mother or not. She trembled, her voice breaking. I'm still alive. By what right do you find a woman for my husband? I repeated each word clearly. And times I'm times still alive. So by what right do you go finding a new wife for your son? She shrieked, her eyes bulging. You're about to die anyway. How many days do you have left? I'm finding a new wife for my son so someone can take care of my grandchild. Eleanor raised an eyebrow, unable to hold back. Who told you Sarah has a terminal illness? Do you have a diagnosis paper? Brenda stated confidently, patting her chest. I heard it with my own ears, clear as day. How could I be wrong? I looked straight at her, my voice slow and sharp. You heard me say I had an illness that, if not treated quickly, even a miracle couldn't help, right? Right. You said it yourself. Eleanor tilted her head and asked, did it ever occur to you that the person Sarah was referring to was times you asterisk? That she was advising times you times to go get checked urgently? My mother-in-law's face turned purple, her voice screaming like thunder. Nonsense. This vixen just wants me dead so she can step in and be his wife, isn't that it? I curved my lips into a sneer. Wouldn't that be good? My dad-in-law gets a wealthy wife, Michael and Leo benefit, and a daughter-in-law like me gets to enjoy the perks. Mom, for the greater good, you sacrifice yourself so the whole family can be blessed. You truly are magnificent. She trembled, her hands clenched, her voice breaking as if crying. Why do I have to sacrifice myself? Am I being too selfish if I die so you all can live in comfort? The room seemed to explode. On one side, Eleanor stood with her arms crossed, and I looked directly at my mother-in-law, not backing down. Every character in this family drama finally showed their true colors. I burst out laughing, my voice echoing coldly through the room. Oh, Mom, you know what selfishness is. So why do you want to sacrifice your daughter-in-law so your whole family can live in comfort? She shrieked, her voice shrill. Because you're going to die anyway. Eleanor, unable to contain herself any longer, retorted immediately, her voice sharp as a knife. The one who's dying is times you asterisk. You ugly, sick old woman. If you don't die, you plan to drag the whole family down with you, don't you? My mother-in-law's face flushed with fury, and she lunged forward. Who are you calling ugly, you vixen? You think seducing my husband is easy. I'm still alive, and I won't let you step into this house. I managed to pull Eleanor behind me, gently pushing her toward the door. You should go, Eleanor. It's getting too messy here. Outside the gate, Eleanor was still trembling with anger, grinding her teeth and cursing. That damn old hag. I just wanted to rip her venomous mouth off. I sighed, forcing a smile. I'm sorry, Eleanor. I dragged you into this mess. She waved her hand. Oh, it's nothing. Just call me if you need anything else. I had fun. Eleanor was my boss, but we were like sisters. She had been divorced, so she understood mother-in-law, daughter-in-law issues immediately. The day I told her about my mother-in-law, wishing for my death to marry her son off to someone else, she was so angry she slammed the table. Good heavens! You're alive and well, and she's already planning a new wife? Just rip her mouth off. I just smiled. Slowly, I want to prolong the drama. She gave a knowing smile. Okay, let me know if you need backup. And true to her word, she had acted perfectly today. After seeing her off, my phone rang as I turned back inside. It was Michael. His voice was low, with a hint of worry. Sarah, did you and Mom argue again? I answered directly. Yes, a big one. He sighed, saying that Mom had been crying and complaining in the family group chat. I opened the group chat. There were 8 people in the group, including Michael and me, as well as his aunts and uncles. The latest message was a voice note from Brenda, sobbing as if she had suffered an ancient injustice. Oh, my dear aunts and uncles, please help me settle this. My daughter-in-law, Sarah. She looks down on me for being from the countryside. Now she wants to make me die and kick me out of the house. Aunt Carol immediately reacted. Good heavens, no way. Sarah wouldn't be like that, would she? Brenda cried even louder, her voice broken and sobbing. Why not? She just brought a vixen right to my house to introduce to my husband. She's only 2 years younger than me, dresses provocatively. One look and you know she's a vixen. Michael's Aunt Lisa also gasped. What? Sarah dared to set up her father-in-law? Does she not have enough mother-in-laws that she needs to find another one? Brenda shrieked. Not enough? She wants to kick me out of the house, so she only has to be filial to the new mother-in-law later. Aunt Lisa tutted. But what's the benefit for her to change mother-in-laws? Brenda replied like a machine gun. The benefit is that the other woman has money. Very rich. Your brother just stared at her, mesmerized. Aunt Lisa giggled. Rich and beautiful? Then sister-in-law, just accept it. You'll get to enjoy the benefits, right? Brenda was fuming. What are you saying? If your husband had a mistress, would you accept that? Aunt Lisa replied nonchalantly. As long as the mistress is rich, if she gave me $50,000 a month, I'd even set up an altar for both of them. I'd even help deliver the baby if she got pregnant. Brenda screamed, her voice hoarse. I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm serious. Sarah brought a vixen home. Can you all just accept that? Aunt Carol interjected gently. This must have a reason. Sarah isn't that kind of person. Brenda cut her off, trembling with anger. What reason? She's a city girl. She's always looked down on me, her country mother-in-law. At this point, Uncle Ben, the quietest in the family, finally spoke up, his voice calm. Sister-in-law, that's not right. If Sarah looked down on you, she wouldn't have married Michael in the first place. The entire group fell silent. The messages stopped there, only the scene icons blinking. I looked at the screen, smiling faintly, a bitter, cold smile. Finally, someone was willing to speak the truth. Outside, the wind whistled through the crack in the door, bringing a chill, but inside me was absolute clarity. This play had only just begun. My mother-in-law screamed in the group chat, because my son is so talented. If it weren't for him, who would need Sarah? Uncle Ben gently countered. If Sarah only loved Michael but disrespected you, why would she welcome you to live with them in the city? Brenda scoffed, full of wounded pride. She just wanted to use me to watch her child. Uncle Ben was firm. The child is still young. If she wanted to use you, she'd keep you around for convenience. Why would she try to send you away? Brenda exploded. Because she found a new mother-in-law richer than me. Uncle Ben tagged us. At Michael Miller, at Sarah Miller. What exactly is going on with you two? Explain yourselves clearly. I had muted the group chat notifications long ago. Brenda would spam all day pictures of her picking up Leo, pictures of meals she cooked, pictures of sunny skies, pictures of gloomy skies, random comments. Michael's aunt and Brenda often argued. I chose to mute, not to see, not to get angry. Now that I was tagged, I opened my mouth to reply. I typed into the group chat, my voice nonchalant yet sharp, nothing major. Michael's mom said she'd had enough of living with me for a few years and wanted him to try something new, wanting to find a rich old lady for him to marry. I thought Dad had lived with Mom for decades, so he should also have a change of pace. So I brought a rich lady home for times her asterisk. Who knew she wouldn't agree, crying and fighting and chasing the woman away, and now she's blaming it all on me. Michael's aunt jumped in, scolding Brenda. Sister-in-law, Michael is times your times son, Sarah is times Leo's times mother. You go find a mistress for your own son. So what if Sarah finds a husband for times your times father? It's just tit for tat. Uncle Ben continued, Sister-in-law, there were times you caused a ruckus with your husband. He's put up with you for a long time. Now you're causing scenes in front of your son and daughter-in-law. Do you think they'll forever indulge you? Brenda wailed in anguish. You're all one family, and I'm an outsider. You're ganging up on me. My husband doesn't even defend me, just lets me be bullied. Marrying into the Miller family was my curse, Aunt Lisa retorted without hesitation. For you to complain about being unlucky is laughable. Who was desperately clinging to my brother, begging him to marry her. Before the wedding, you pretended to be sweet, but after marrying, you demanded to split the house, asked for this and that. My parents put up with it and squeezed me into a tiny room. Now you dare to say you're unlucky. In reality, my brother is the one who was unlucky. Brenda tried to play the victim before everyone, but was completely shut down by Aunt Lisa. She fell silent, then turned to complain to her own relatives. A cousin and an aunt immediately tagged us, questioning, "What did you two do that you're trying to kick our sister out of the house?" I calmly asked back, "I'm kicking her out? Do you have proof?" Brenda continued to cry and accuse. "She brought a mistress into my house. I almost got into a fight with that vixen. What more proof do you need?" I smiled, not raising my voice. I opened my phone, pressed play, and sent a file to the group. In the video, her voice resonated. Her suspicions, her complaints, her curses, all recorded by my phone while I stood still in the corner. The message sent notification appeared. The group went silent. Then the scene icons flashed. 1, 2, 3. The names of each person appeared on the screen. They listened. And I knew that when the truth played out on screen, even the most professional actor would struggle to continue. I immediately sent that video to Michael's family group chat for everyone to see. My phone rang continuously, notifications popping up like landmines. Sent, seen, replied. Uncle Ben and Aunt Lisa immediately exploded, mercilessly criticizing Brenda. "You're going too far with those words, Brenda. What kind of bullying is that, picking on your daughter-in-law? Don't think you can push people around just because you're from the countryside." Her cousin and aunt, however, rushed to her defense. "Oh, come on, she was probably just joking. She probably thought her daughter-in-law was sick and was just worrying about her grandson, that's all. If she's not sick, then it's clearly a misunderstanding. Just talk it out once and for all." I jumped in, my voice calm but cunning. It truly was a misunderstanding. I was just joking back with Mom. I thought Mom was sick, so I was trying to help Dad and Michael. Who knew Mom wouldn't wait for me to finish, screaming loudly like someone desperate. "I'm not sick. Asterisk. Your time's sick. I'm perfectly healthy. By what right do you set up my husband with someone else?" Brenda shrieked. I typed on the keyboard, word by word. "If you're not sick, then it's clearly a misunderstanding. Now that it's cleared up, are we done?" She refused, still yelling. "But you already brought that vixen to my house." I smirked. "That's right. I brought her. What do you want?" She pointed a finger at the screen. "You have to apologize to me and make that vixen compensate me for my emotional distress." Her cousin clapped his hands in agreement. "That's right. A vixen who breaks up other people's families can't be let off the hook." Another cousin declared loudly, "If she doesn't compensate, I'll file a lawsuit." Her aunt from the maternal side was still suspicious. Maybe that young woman really was interested in our brother-in-law. How else would she dare come right to our sister's house? I let out a bitter laugh. "I'm sorry, you're all completely mistaken. That's not your sister's house. It's my time's house. I have the right to bring anyone I want here. You all have no right to interfere." My mother-in-law shrieked, trying to assert her authority with old-fashioned thinking. "What do you mean, asterisk your time's house? That's my son's house. I'm Michael's mother. I have a say in this house." I didn't beat around the bush. I tagged my husband directly in the group, a message like a declaration of war. "Before today, your mother needs to move out, or I'm divorcing you." Silence. Everyone waited. My heart pounded against my wrist. A few seconds later, the scene icon appeared. Then Michael's reply. Short, decisive. Done. My mother-in-law looked at the screen, her face lighting up, a naive, joyful smile. "See? My son would rather divorce than kick his mother out of the house," she said, her eyes shining as if she had just won a major victory. The entire group suddenly went quiet. I sat there, listening to the clock tick. A short sentence from my husband was enough to change the entire dynamic in the house. And my mother-in-law, with her childish, imagined joy, forgot one thing. She had just been exposed by her own words on the screen. The messages still danced on my phone, but in the living room, the atmosphere had shifted from tense to icy cold. The family drama was just beginning. Michael sighed, his voice deep and cold. "Mom, do you want to move back to the countryside or rent a place of your own?" The moment those words dropped, the entire group exploded as if someone had lit a fuse. Cousins, aunts, uncles. Brenda's relatives from her maternal side started scolding Michael one after another. "Good heavens! How dare you say that to your mother? That's too unfilial. She raised you this big, and now you want to kick her out of the house?" Michael, alone, couldn't handle the onslaught. He had barely typed 2 lines when he was attacked by the whole group. I watched, my blood boiling. I had put up with them for so long, and finally, I couldn't hold back anymore. I typed a long message, my hands trembling, but my heart soaring. "I've had enough of you all. A bunch of old people with disgusting mouths. You're great at double standards. When times your times family is wrong, you say it's a misunderstanding, a joke, something to be overlooked. But Michael, her son, only said he wanted his mother to move out, not that he was kicking anyone onto the street. Why are you all acting like we dug up your ancestors' graves? Is it because if she moves out, you won't have an excuse to come here and accidentally take things anymore, and that's why you're mad? A bunch of shameless freeloaders pretending to cry and complain. Let me make it clear. From now on, stay away from my house." I stood by the door, finished typing, and pressed Leave Group with a decisive click. It felt like a huge weight had been lifted from my chest. Just then, the elevator chimed. Michael stepped out, his shirt still on. He smiled, half helpless, half relieved. I left the group too. I feel so much lighter. I laughed. Both of us had actually been fed up with Brenda's relatives for a long time. Brenda herself still had some dignity, but her maternal relatives were truly limitlessly greedy. In our house, they wanted to accidentally take everything, from boxes of bird's nest to perfume bottles to newly bought knife sets. At first, when things went missing, we didn't know who took them, until we visited their houses and accidentally saw our belongings proudly displayed on their shelves. When we complained, Brenda would just laugh it off. "Oh, come on. They're not strangers. They're family. Just consider it showing respect to your elders." Many times I wanted to cut ties, leave the group, block them, but she would always pull me back in. This time was different. She herself had given me the perfect excuse to break free completely. I looked at my husband and said softly, "If we go inside now, we'll definitely have another argument with her." Michael squared his shoulders, his voice firm. "Don't worry, I'll handle it." I nodded, my gaze cold. This time, her true colors are out. I don't want to live with her anymore. She has to move out. Michael looked at me, silent for a few seconds, then nodded emphatically. "I wouldn't feel comfortable with you two living together either." The elevator doors closed behind him. A chapter of this family had just closed, but I knew the real storm was still ahead. I smirked. "Are you worried Mom will poison me?" Michael offered a tired smile. "She probably wouldn't dare, but things are already so chaotic. Living together would only cause more conflict. Everyone in the house is frustrated. It's better if she moves out for peace of mind." He opened the door and walked into the kitchen. My mother-in-law immediately shrieked as if provoked. "Michael, what are you implying? Kicking your mother out of the house?" Michael stood tall, his voice cold. "I don't want you to destroy my small family, Mom. After all this, do you really think you can stay?" She retorted. "Then kick times her times out. Why should times I times leave?" Michael said directly. "Do you know the law, Mom? Sarah's name is on the deed. On what grounds do you demand to kick her out?" She put on an arrogant face. "I don't care. I'm your mother, and your house is also my house. No one has the right to kick me out." Michael burst out, his words like a torrent. "Do you want me to get a divorce to satisfy you?" She yelled back. "So, what if you divorce? An unfilial daughter-in-law like her, it's better to get rid of her." Michael hissed through clenched teeth. "Were you ever filial to Grandpa and Grandma, Mom? Why didn't Dad divorce you sooner?" Brenda shrieked, collapsing onto the floor, slapping her thighs, wailing dramatically. "Oh God, the son I bore and raised in pain. Now that he's married, he turns his back on me, doesn't need me anymore." I turned to Michael, my voice decisive. "I'm going to my mom's house. Call me when you've sorted things out." He nodded. That night, she continued crying and complaining in the family group chat, threatening not to pick up or drop off Leo, not to cook, not to help with anything if she was forced to move out. I chuckled, typing my reply. "Oh, my goodness, if there's no carrots, can't you cook soup? If there's no dog poop, can't you make firecrackers? You've never helped me with Leo, and he still grew up fine. You've never cooked, and Michael and I haven't starved to death. We've never depended on you before, And we don't need to now. Brenda exploded. You two both work. If I don't cook, you'll have no choice but to eat takeout. And that food is dirty. It'll give you cancer. Her cousin quickly cut in. Sister-in-law, why be so venomous? Who doesn't eat takeout? You're cursing others, be careful. Karma might strike you. She huffed. I won't get karma. I'm tough as nails. No one bothered to care anymore. Messages flew back and forth like a downpour. The next afternoon, Michael called, his voice urgent. Mom moved out. You can bring Leo home. When I got home, I saw he had rented an apartment for her nearby. He said, Mom refuses to pick up Leo anymore. I'll probably have to ask your mom. I nodded. My mom already agreed. Before, my mom used to watch our grandson, but when she took a break, Brenda would always try to take over. Now that Brenda had quit, my mom immediately stepped back in. My in-laws moved out together. Robert, feeling guilty, still brought fruit to our house as a peace offering. That afternoon, returning from work, I saw a crowd gathered at the apartment complex entrance. Brenda's voice shrieked. Vixen! Evil spirit! I pushed through, curious, my heart heavy. It turned out she was yelling at times, my time's mother. My mom, gentle and unwilling to argue in front of her grandson, just stood there, stunned and trembling. My blood boiled. I stepped forward, raising my hand, almost slapping her. What foul words are you spewing with that disgusting mouth of yours? I'll smash your mouth right now. Brenda immediately recoiled, hiding behind a tall, burly old man. The crowd stepped back, whispers filling the air. The central courtyard of the complex fell silent. I stood facing my mother-in-law, my heart still pounding. Footsteps, the rustle of dry leaves, everything seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next words to open a new chapter in the war. A burly old man stepped forward, raising his hand to block me, his voice stern. Say what you need to say, politely. Laying hands on an elder, you're in the wrong. I curled my lips into a cold smirk. People as nasty as her, they didn't get enough beatings when they were young. That's why they get worse in old age. That foul mouth of hers, it's a miracle. It hasn't been torn off by now. Whispers arose from the crowd. Don't touch her. She's old, suing will be a hassle. I shrugged slightly. Well, her son will have to pay for it anyway. Someone asked, Are you her daughter-in-law? I replied curtly, Not anymore. I don't live with such a disgusting mother-in-law. Brenda pointed at me, still cursing incessantly. Sarah Miller, it's all your mother's fault. Your mother has been flirting with my husband for days. Even my son noticed. She wants to seduce my husband. Asterisk slap. Asterisk a thunderous sound. Robert appeared amidst the crowd, his hand striking Brenda's cheek with force. The slap echoed, sharp enough to make every hair stand on end. He roared, Do you have any decency left, woman? You call me useless. Who would even look at an old man like me, half dead? For the first time in years, I saw that gentle man explode with such fury. Brenda's eyes widened, and she shrieked, You old fool, how dare you hit me? Robert dragged her away, his voice stern. Come on, don't make a scene here anymore. I helped my mother out of the crowd, asking softly, What happened, Mom? My mother panted, her voice still gentle but trembling. Your father-in-law is very fond of Leo. He often buys fruit for him. Today, your mother-in-law saw me and went crazy, accusing me of trying to seduce her husband. I don't know why, honey. I fell silent, thinking carefully. If I didn't teach her a lesson, she would continue to humiliate my mother and affect my son. I vowed to put an end to it. That night, after Leo was fast asleep, I told Michael, Take me to see your mother. I have something to say to her. We arrived at the apartment she rented. As the door opened, her voice shrieked, as if it was her natural tone. Michael, look at what your wife is doing. She instigated your father to argue with me, hitting me until my face is swollen. You have to divorce her, or I'll die right here for you to see. I walked in, calmly pulling a cup from my bag. The lid was off, and it contained only water. Suddenly, I lunged forward, grabbed her hair, and poured all the water into her mouth. She choked, sputtering, doubling over, coughing violently. Michael backed away, his face pale. "Sarah, what did you give her to drink?" I let go, washed the cup in the sink, then turned back, calmly. "Didn't your mother just say she'd die for you to see? I'm just helping her fulfill her promise." She started screaming, pointing. "You evil woman! You poisoned me. Michael, call the police. Take Mom to the hospital for a stomach pump." I smirked. "The hospital is far away. By then, the poison will have already taken effect. If you want, the quickest way is to stick your fingers down your throat and vomit it out yourself." She panicked, trying to stick her fingers down her throat, her hands shaking uncontrollably. I said coldly, "Brenda Miller, you'll succeed. And it's for the best. You won't be able to use that mouth to falsely accuse others anymore." She yelled loudly, "Son, save me. I don't want to be mute." I grabbed her hand, pulling her into the bathroom. She struggled, calling for her son. "Michael, come here and help me now." Michael seemed caught between two fires, his eyes tense, his hands trembling. He stepped forward, his voice lost. "Mom, please stop. I don't want things to continue like this." In the bathroom light, the sound of running water, the gasping breaths, everything seemed to quiet, stretched taut. She suddenly stopped, looking at me, her lips trembling. "Sarah, please." I looked straight into her eyes, my voice cold as ice. "Today, you humiliated my mother. Tomorrow, you'll curse my son. Is it going to be like this forever? If you want to use your mouth to destroy other people's homes, you have to face the consequences. Starting today, be more careful with your words." She was silent. Michael lowered his head. Outside, the city lights still glowed, but in this small apartment, an old order had been broken. I stepped out, pulling on my mother's arm, whispering, "Let's go home. Your safety is paramount." The door closed, footsteps faded away, an old chapter closed. But I knew that from now on, my mother-in-law had changed. Either she would accept the new rules, or she would be isolated by her own words. I said coldly, "He won't know how to do it. Let me." Before she could react, I grabbed her hair and dragged her straight into the bathroom. With one hand holding her tightly, I took a chopstick and pressed it straight into her throat, then pulled it out. She doubled over, throwing up violently into the toilet. A sour, foul odor spread throughout the bathroom. Michael stood outside, his face drained of all color. "Sarah, what did you just give Mom to drink?" I replied nonchalantly, "Tea, lemon, vinegar, coffee, salt, soy sauce, peppermint, ginger slices, salt, sugar, all mixed evenly." Michael groaned, clutching his forehead. He couldn't imagine what that concoction smelled like. I glanced at him, my voice indifferent. "When we get home, I'll make you a glass to try." He waved his hands, frantically. "No, thank you, my dearest wife." That time I used the chopstick. It probably scratched her throat. For days, she had a sore, hoarse throat and didn't dare open her mouth to curse anyone. It was quiet for a few days, but as soon as she recovered, she started her tricks again. This time, she completely regarded me as an enemy. She tried every means to sabotage my marriage with Michael, even bringing young women to the house to set up her son. Michael was so angry he yelled throughout the neighborhood, "Mom, will you stop using me?" One day, my son innocently asked, "Mommy, am I going to have a new mommy soon?" I froze. "Who told you that?" "Grandma did," he said. "Grandma said, Daddy doesn't need you anymore." It felt like someone had just hit me with a hammer. A surge of anger rushed to my head. That afternoon, I stormed into her apartment and cursed her out thoroughly. Afterwards, I complained to Eleanor. "She's too much, Eleanor. I want to find something to keep her busy, so she doesn't have time to mess with my family." Eleanor raised an eyebrow, smiling faintly. "Small matter. I'll take care of it." Not long after, a new friend of my mother-in-law appeared, inviting her to go square dancing in the community park every evening. I could only laugh when I heard about it. One evening, I took Leo for a walk and saw her swaying in the park, loud music playing, her face made up with heavy makeup, wearing a bright red top. I pulled out my phone, recorded a short clip, and sent it to the family group chat. Immediately, Michael's cousin commented, "Oh my, sister-in-law, living the life of leisure." Aunt Carol also chimed in, "That's right. No watching the grandchild, no cooking. Who wouldn't dream of a life like that? Michael's cousin added, "Poor brother, working all day and still has to cook for her." I watched, a slight smirk on my face. When one spouse wants to fight and the other meekly accepts, outsiders interfering is useless. Michael had tried to persuade his mother to cook for his father, but she cursed him like a rainstorm. "In your eyes, there's only your wife and your old man. Am I just a tool for this family? I've done enough watching the grandchild and cooking. Now I need to live for myself. I want a divorce." Michael froze. "Mom, are you crazy? How old are you? Demanding a divorce?" She retorted. "I like it. Marriage or divorce is my right. Don't interfere." "If you divorce, what do you plan to do?" he asked. She raised her hand, showing off. "I have plenty of suitors. Look, this gold bracelet was a gift from one of them. I lived with your father for decades and never got anything like this." Michael looked closely at both her wrists, asking softly, "Is that true?" She scoffed. "Of course it's true. Mr. Henderson, he's very rich, not like your dirt-poor father." She went on, "Mr. Henderson even promised to take me on international trips. As soon as I divorce, he'll marry me immediately." My father-in-law sat smoking, calmly saying one sentence, "Divorce, then, let her go with her man." And so, they actually went to file for divorce without arguing over assets. Holding the acceptance paper for the divorce application, they left the county clerk's office, going their separate ways. From then on, my mother-in-law moved in with Mr. Henderson, completely, never looking back. Whenever Michael and I took an evening stroll, we would see her and him walking arm in arm, dancing in the square. Their clothes were still the same old outfits we had bought for her. I turned to Michael, my voice both mocking and worried. "Do you think your mom is being scammed?" Michael looked into the distance, a faint, sad smile on his face. "If she is, it's probably the price she has to pay for what she's done." Michael leaned back in his chair, his voice calm. "She doesn't have any money. No one can really scam her for that. They're probably just spiritual companions. Mom always felt she was at a disadvantage living with Dad her whole life." I raised an eyebrow. "What about your dad? Is he sad?" Michael shook his head, smiling faintly. "I think he's doing great living alone, quiet. No one to argue with, no one to nag him. He's probably happier now." 30 days for the divorce to finalize passed, and my mother-in-law immediately urged Robert to get the official divorce certificate, as if afraid he might change his mind. I told Eleanor about it, and she burst out laughing. "Oh my, that's quite a story." Then she gave a mysterious smile. "Actually, I asked a friend who dances in the square to approach her. Then she introduced her to a few old men who enjoy fake whirlwind romances." My eyes widened. "So Eleanor was behind it." Eleanor winked. "Don't underestimate those old men. Their words are sweeter than honey, flattering more than young guys. Your mother-in-law was both dissatisfied and lonely, so she easily fell into the trap. Honestly, I just intended to keep her busy dancing, so she wouldn't have time to bother you. I didn't expect it to go all the way to divorce. But it's good. She goes off to make someone else miserable, and you get your freedom." I laughed, my voice bitter but relieved. "Anyway, Michael is her biological son. He could take it. But strangers, I'm afraid she'll just harm herself again." Eleanor nodded. "Exactly. You reap what you sow." A few months later, I had just arrived home when Michael called, his voice urgent. "Sarah, Mr. Henderson's family reported that Mom collapsed. I'm going to the hospital to see what's wrong." I calmly told him, "Go ahead." Less than an hour later, he called again, his voice significantly subdued. "You were right, Sarah. Mom has stomach cancer." I froze, memories flooding back. Before, I had noticed her poor appetite and weight loss. I even told Michael, "Take Mom for a checkup. It might be stomach cancer. If it is, early treatment is key." He had laughed it off then. "It's probably not that serious." I emphasized, "You know this disease. If it's caught late, there's no hope. In the final stage, even a miracle can't help." He had stated firmly, "If it's truly serious, I'll sell the house to save Mom." I gave a faint smile. "You don't need to go to the extent of selling the house. Just a checkup will do." But that day, my mother-in-law had overheard, And it was from that very sentence that she thought times I times had cancer, leading her to curse me to die early and forbid Michael from saving me. From that misunderstanding, all the tragedy began. She divorced and moved to Mr. Henderson's house, and I forgot the words I once said. Now, everything came back in a twisted loop. In just a few months, she had collapsed from the illness. I asked softly, "Do you have the results yet?" "Yes, it's terminal stage." I paused for a beat, then said, "Even in the terminal stage, it can still be treated, don't worry." But that night, I tossed and turned, not out of sympathy, but because I knew this would change everything. Even though she was divorced, even though she had cursed me, she was still my husband's biological mother. He couldn't abandon her. And I understood that from now on, all the burdens, both emotional and financial, would once again fall on my shoulders. All I wanted was to ask the heavens, when will this karma finally be paid off? The next day, Michael called me, his voice heavy. "Mom still hasn't woken up." I was surprised. "Did you have her undergo a full checkup?" "Yes, we did," he said. "The doctor said there's nothing wrong." That sounded strange to me, so I recounted it to Eleanor. She immediately asked, her voice sharp and cold, "Is your mother-in-law at community hospital?" "Yes." Eleanor was silent for a few seconds, then said definitively, "Mr. Henderson's son and daughter are both doctors there. This isn't simple. You'd best tell Michael to transfer her to another hospital for a reevaluation." I immediately called my husband. After hearing me out, he didn't say anything further, just replied curtly, "I understand." The very next day, my mother-in-law was transferred to City General Hospital. And true to intuition, the results stunned everyone. She really did have stomach cancer, but it was only in the mid-stage, not terminal as the other hospital had concluded. What was more terrifying was that her stomach was empty, with no trace of food for days. She also had a blood clot in her head and needle marks on her shoulder, none of which were recorded in the file from community hospital. Michael suspected foul play and immediately reported it to the police. Mr. Henderson's daughter was brought in for questioning. In a short while, she broke down and confessed everything. She admitted that she herself had injected medication to put my mother-in-law into a coma, waiting for her to slowly die. She said, "I was afraid she would become a burden to the whole family with prolonged treatment." Hearing that sent chills down my spine. But then, as the police investigated further, they uncovered an even starker truth. Mr. Henderson and my mother-in-law had never legally married. They had merely staged a fake wedding, a grand spectacle for everyone to see, but on paper, they were nothing to each other. To put it bluntly, the Henderson family could have abandoned her at the hospital without any legal responsibility. Yet, that daughter still concocted the story of fearing a burden to conceal her crime. Cornered, she confessed to a whole nest of dark secrets. The Henderson siblings had some influence in the hospital, and for a long time, they had been taking kickbacks, accepting bribes, overprescribing, and replacing generic drugs with expensive ones while charging for the cheaper ones. All their illicit dealings were discussed right in their home, often while playing mahjong and talking. At first, they were afraid my mother-in-law might overhear, but gradually, seeing that she was naive and didn't understand medical terminology, they didn't bother to avoid her anymore. Little did they know that her own greed would be the very thing that blew everything open. She thought marrying Mr. Henderson meant stepping into high society, only to find herself an unpaid housekeeper, constantly cooking, cleaning, child-minding, with aching back and shoulders, while Mr. Henderson still gallivanted around town, pouring sweet talk into her ear. "My dear wife, you work so hard. I adore you so much." Just hearing those words, she would cool down, believing her sacrifice was worth it. But the longer she lived, the more she realized she had been tricked. She had no money, no clear status, and didn't dare return to her ex-husband, fearing ridicule. So she wore the mask of a wealthy madam, constantly boasting, "My husband loves me so much, he gives me flowers and money every day." But her purse was empty. And then, greed surfaced. When she overheard the Henderson siblings discussing their illicit earnings, she memorized every word, thinking she had leverage. She demanded that Mr. Henderson transfer the house title to her name and give her an additional $100,000, or she would expose them. Mr. Henderson, enraged, grabbed her hair and slammed her head against the wall. That was why she had a blood clot in her head. She was both scared and in pain, kneeling and begging for mercy, promising she wouldn't dare again. But the Henderson siblings knew she couldn't keep her mouth shut for long. So they plotted to handle it quietly, not daring to kill her outright, but instead locking her up, cutting off her food, and confiscating her phone. Her stomach, already weak, went without food for days, and she fainted, then was taken to the hospital in a semi-conscious state. I listened, chills running down my spine. Heaven and earth had turned. All the things she had plotted to harm others were now falling back on her. Karma truly comes late, but when it arrives, no one can escape it. Mr. Henderson's daughter was the one who actively took my mother-in-law to community hospital. She pretended to care, holding her hand gently. "Mom, don't worry. I know the doctor's here. They'll take good care of you." But as soon as the hospital room door closed, she pulled a syringe from her pocket and plunged it straight into my mother-in-law's arm, then calmly called Michael. "Your mother has terminal stomach cancer. It's very serious. Prepare yourself." She thought she was about to silently get rid of a burden, but unexpectedly, just a few hours later, Michael immediately transferred his mother to the City General Hospital in the middle of the night. And that very action caused the entire conspiracy to collapse. When everything was exposed, the two Henderson siblings were arrested. Mr. Henderson also couldn't escape, charged with assault causing injury. As for my mother-in-law, due to the toxins from the medication his daughter injected, her body gradually weakened, and she never regained consciousness. 3 years in the ICU. For days her breath was shallow, then she passed away silently, without tears, without a last will, only the final, chilling beeps of the monitoring machine. After the case, Michael sued the Henderson family and received a substantial settlement. He used the money to buy Robert a small, quiet, and comfortable apartment. Everything seemed to finally close. On the day of the burial, a cold wind swept through the cemetery. Michael stood for a long time before the headstone, his voice low. My mother was never satisfied. She complained my dad was poor, accused me of being unfilial, and criticized you for not being from a rich family. She always thought she was the one being patient, but she never understood that it was Dad who endured her his whole life. I stood beside him and gently replied, "Those who are never satisfied will suffer no matter whom they marry. Happiness isn't found in others, but in one's own heart." He was silent for a moment, then asked, "Do you think Mom regretted it?" I looked at the headstone, thinking of her once arrogant face, and softly said, "When she was locked up and starved, I'm sure she regretted it. But if she had survived, I'm not sure she would have changed." Michael nodded, his voice slow and sad. That was her. Always making herself miserable and dragging everyone around her down with her. I was about to say, "Now it's peaceful. No one will bother us anymore," but seeing the expression on his face, I swallowed the words. After all, that was still his biological mother, the woman he once longed to be loved by, even if only a little. We turned and walked away. In the distance, my father-in-law held Leo's hand, standing by the car, watching us. The setting sun cast a golden glow across the sky, reflecting on his gentle face, a scene both warm and poignant. All of it a final reminder that greed sometimes doesn't kill anyone, but it can make a person dig their own grave. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe to our channel to support us.